Have you been suffering from a frequent case of indigestion or a bloated stomach, and you really do not know what is causing it? And perhaps you visited your GP, your physician, and there has been no diagnosis. You don't know what the problem is. It is possible that that frequent indigestion and bloatedness could be caused by complex trauma or chronic stress. But how, you ask? How is complex trauma or chronic stress linked to indigestion? I'll tell you. Now, first of all, what is trauma? Trauma is the body's response in the face of an extremely distressing event, a brutal event perceived by the brain as being beyond the body's capacity to respond to the event, leaving you with an overwhelming feeling, a feeling of being overwhelmed, a feeling of helplessness, and that which usually also changes how you view the world and the people around you. Your body's response to this kind of distressing event is what we term trauma. Remember, not the event, but the body's response to the event. If it were the event that was trauma, that could mean hopelessness, because we cannot go back in time to change the event if you had suffered from a traumatic event. But if we perceive trauma as the wound that resulted from the event, then we can heal the wound. Now, so what is complex trauma? Complex trauma is when this distressing event, this brutal event, is being perpetrated upon you by someone who has a close and significant relationship with you, a relationship that is significant to your existence, someone who is supposed to protect you and show you love. When they are now the ones perpetrating a brutal or distressing event or abusing you, for instance, and then this goes on over a long period of time, then we say you've experienced complex trauma. And then what is chronic stress? Stress is also the body's response to an event, an environmental event that surpasses the body's ability to respond to that event, And then chronic stress is when this high level of stress, you're being exposed to very high levels of stress over a long period of time. Then we say you're undergoing chronic stress. Now, chronic stress, the event might not necessarily be brutal, it might not necessarily even be a negative event. For instance, work stress, which could be you having excessive responsibilities at work, poor role description at work, such events. They may not be brutal events per se, but they put a higher demand on your body's resources than your body is able to deal with. And this happens over a long period of time. So your body goes from stress, goes to a stage of exhaustion, and you get to burnout, and then you stay in that state of burnout over a long period of time. Then we say you're suffering from chronic stress. As you can see, there's a similarity between complex trauma and chronic stress. So what happens in the face of trauma, as in the face of stress, is that the amygdala kickstarts the fight or flight reaction, usually called the fight or flight reaction. But in the face of trauma, it could be fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or flop, So each time you're faced with either a traumatic event or a stressful event, your amygdala quickly kickstarts the fight or flight reaction to protect you. And this would lead to the release of stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, into your system. These hormones would lead to a start of a number of physiological reactions within you to help you cope with the stress, to ensure that available energy is made available for you to either fight or flee, and then when it becomes too overwhelming, you might freeze. Now, so one of the things that happen in your body in the face of a stressful or traumatic event is that digestion stops to conserve energy. So in the face of a stressful event, as part of the fight or flight reaction, digestion is halted by your body to conserve energy. And also imagine you trying to run to the toilet in front of a life-threatening event. That would be disruptive. So digestion stops. And when you're in a state of complex trauma, that means you're experiencing trauma again and again over a long period of time, or you're experiencing chronic stress, so you're in that state of stress over a long period of time, it means that your digestion will be constantly disrupted. You're going to have disruption to your digestive system over and over and over again. This is why you're constantly having indigestion problems, constantly having a bloated stomach. So what can you do to stop this or to reverse the situation? What you can do is to reduce the levels of stress or to learn proper stress management strategies, and then to learn to regulate your nervous system. As a result of this complex trauma or chronic stress, the nervous system is going to become dysregulated, so it cannot easily switch from fight or flight back to rest and digest. Fight or flight is when the fight or flight reaction is activated in the face of trauma, in the face of a stressful event. Rest and digest is what happens immediately the trauma is over, immediately the event causing the trauma is over, immediately you're done with the stressful event. Your nervous system is supposed to be able to reverse itself immediately back to the rest and digest state. The parasympathetic part of your nervous system should be able to reverse, the fight or flight reaction, taking you back to a stage known as rest and digest. So your body is at rest and digestion can continue. But when you're experiencing chronic stress or complex trauma, your nervous system becomes dysregulated. So it cannot easily switch itself back to the rest and digest state after kickstarting the fight or flight reaction. So you stay in that, fight or flight state, and all of these stress chemicals remain in your body, which is not supposed to be the case. And after a period of time, they begin to cause you psychosomatic illnesses, such as high blood pressure, cardiovascular illnesses, stomach ulcers, colitis, and all of these diseases. So what you need to do is to learn how to regulate your nervous system, to learn to get your nervous system off the stuck state where it cannot quickly switch from fight or flight to rest and digest to a more fluid and flexible state where it can easily switch from fight or flight to rest and digest. You may not be able to do this all on your own. Yeah, you could try some self-help strategies, but if you need help getting your nervous system regulated after it has been dysregulated, I'm here to help you. Just leave a comment in the comment section. You can send me an email at drntamuba@gmail.com and I'll get back to you and we can get to work getting your nervous system regulated. Don't forget to subscribe to this video and follow me as I share a lot of useful psychological tips with you. Thank you for watching and see you some other time. Bye.